Phase 5 and Phase 6 of the MCU are quickly shaping up to be some of the most anticipated Marvel content to be released of all time, with 2 different Avengers projects and the debut of the Fantastic Four, among several other long-awaited entries making their way into MCU Earth 616. Slated to be at the epicenter of this carnage, however, is Kang the Conqueror, who is set to be the heir to Thanos' previous title of the overarching multi-phase villain. So the question remains, how can the Avengers actually defeat Kang? What are the best ways to actually conquer the Conqueror? And what methods might the Avengers use to finally topple the Kang dynasty? Well, stick with us today, watchers of the Marvel Multiverse, and let's delve into exactly what makes Kang so threatening, and let's explore a few possible ways to beat him once and for all. Before we talk about how to defeat the Conqueror though, we must first understand what makes Kang so formidable, as it's not his tech genius, combat prowess, or innate ability to hop between realities, but it's something far more intricate. His various gadgets and weapons are highly dangerous in their own right, but can likely be overcome with the combined ingenuity of Marvel's most intelligent heroes, many of whom likely pioneered the same tech that Kang is set to use in the future. This means that while individual Kangs are dangerous, they can still be beaten one-on-one, even if it might take some work. Kang, however, as a being, simply cannot be viewed as a linear entity, as he does not have one cohesive story arc from beginning to end to be explored. Instead, what makes Kang so threatening is the fact that he is not alone, and the Avengers will continue needing to face him no matter what they do throughout the duration of their lives. Kang is nearly infinite. These Kangs that plague the multiverse will continue to challenge the Avengers across the timeline, and killing Kang is not enough to defeat him. With Thanos, the Avengers were able to ultimately kill the Mad Titan, which was their greatest challenge. Though for Endgame, they saw a variant Thanos return to the future in order to face them once again. While this was a one-time occurrence for Thanos, with Kang, this is the natural state of existence. Thanos could theoretically return from another timeline, but Kang is guaranteed to. It's not only possible, but highly likely that every iteration of Kang we are set to see is a different variant from another timeline, and Kangs will likely be defeated en masse by multiple Avengers throughout the course of his tenure. But just killing Kang, however, simply is not enough. Each Kang has a different armada depending on the depths of their conquests across the multiverse, and this means that each Kang will be a different type of enemy with different solutions and different backstories, and therefore will need different abilities to ward off their conquests, with some being solo combatant Kangs, while others have entire armies at their backs. It's also important to note that these Kangs are constantly at war with one another, and the calamity of their conflicts can wreak havoc across the timeline that hosts their battle. So then, with this in mind, how can Kang truly be defeated at the end of the multiversal saga? For this, we have a few different options, the first of which is hinted by the inclusion of a Secret Wars-centric project. In the comics, the Secret Wars arc saw the end of the multiverse as we know it, with entire timelines being purged from the fabric of the multiverse itself. This method has been known to work, as we saw He Who Remains take this very same approach in the previous war, leaving himself as the sole victor of this genocide, and deciding that one timeline was necessary to save the few survivors he could. He saw the only solution to the Kang problem to be the purge of the multiverse, allowing him to be the only Kang variant to survive, and it's highly likely that this is now the primary solution until someone is able to find another alternative. As of now though, this even threatens the sacred timeline with new Kangs. If this is the solution to be taken, it would entail the annihilation of the mainline MCU, seeing as the TVA is no longer policing Nexus events, and therefore has not been monitoring the mainline Marvel universe. This means with utmost certainty that this timeline is no longer the sacred timeline, and it's now a tangential break which likely has a Kang in its future. After all, how can the sacred timeline script see various multiverse breaks and still remain the sacred timeline? So then, what are the other solutions? Despite restarting the multiverse, how can one defeat Kang? One other fan-favorite alternative entails the separation of the mainline MCU, isolating it from the rest of the multiverse and shielding it from the onslaught of the Kangs. If the Avengers can figure out how to build a suit of armor around the world, or around the entirety of their timeline, then they might be able to close themselves off from all multiversal travel and activity regardless of who is trying to leap between realities. This would have essentially the same ramifications as a multiversal destruction, only in this case, the rest of the multiverse would be allowed to survive under the condition that they can no longer interact with the mainline MCU and the reborn sacred timeline. Heroes would once again be confined to this timeline, and they could no longer have multiversal visitors, which would be the expense of security. It also means, however, that any multiversal fan favorite characters who we've come to know and love, most notably the two Spider-Man variants from No Way Home, would still be subject to the incursion of Kang's, and it's likely that their realities are not safe from his onslaughts. Thanks to Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, we know a little bit more about multiversal makeup. Reed Richards explains that there are barriers between realities that keep them naturally separated, and prolonged travel or interaction between universes erodes said barriers. If these lines wore too thin though, then the universe run the risk of colliding with one another, causing events known as incursion. If these barriers can be weakened, however, then it's theoretically possible that they can also be strengthened. While this is likely to be a brand new development, we know that the MCU is home to some of the most brilliant multiversal individuals in existence, and they are going to have access to a wealth of technology and gadgetry from across not only their timeline, but the multiverse itself. We know that it's only a matter of time before Reed Richards and Doctor Doom make the leap into the MCU, and their combined engineering prowess, along with the tech and input of the rest of the MCU, might be enough to shield the MCU from the further multiversal activities of Kang. This allows fan favorite multiversal characters to survive in their own native realities at all cost of never being able to interact with the MCU again. But anyway, my friends, these are just two of the solutions that we came up with. But what did you think of them? Do you think either of these are viable options to defeat Kang and his many variants? And if so, which do you think will be the ultimate conclusion to the multiversal saga? As always, watchers of the Marvel Multiverse, thank you for tuning into the Marvelous Wave. Hit that subscribe button to assemble and join our team, and we will hopefully see you in the next video.